Good morning, everyone. I hope you're well. Welcome to another week of the comment section. We had a week off last week, but we are back on it today. I am just having some technical issues with my screen, so I'm just trying to get the presentation up, and then we should be good to go. Let's just check. But I hope you're doing well. Just a note during the presentation, if you do have any questions, please just shout out at any time, and hopefully you can see my screen. There you go. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Again, these are going to be quick 10-15 minutes, bit of content to digest, and then you can go about your day, implement some of these, and hopefully you can you can see some benefits and some returns from what from the advice we're giving today. So today we're going to be running through the boosting e-commerce sales through effective comment management. This is something that's quite close to my heart, especially in a previous role I had. And too many brands are neglecting their comment section, especially when it comes to actually using it as a way to communicate with potential customers who want to use your brand and use your products. So let's run through it. So every week we start with a stat, and this is our sort of headline stat across Rupert, which is 88% of people will not buy from a business if they see an answered complaint on social media. I'd like to think a lot of us, especially in this space, will know that. But again, it seems that very few people are aware of actually how aggressive in terms of that statistic is when it comes to people not wanting to purchase a product if they see an answered complaint. And here's a good example of that. So I've spoken about these guys in the past, actually, which is a vintage clothes company, and there's loads of them in the UK. And I got into a bit of vortex with their ads one day, and I won't tell the story again, but I was looking. I had a client at the time who was in that sort of space, and I thought actually this could be a good way of selling some old stock, and was about to make a purchase on the company credit card. Bear in mind, I wasn't even spending my own money, and saw that they had vast amount of comments, which is quite rare when you see a brand that has, which isn't like an Axel Aragato. It's hundreds of comments. So I had a quick look. And these were some of these, and you'll see the top two there, which are really fair questions, which is where's my order, or can you pack it? And there's the order number. Quite interesting with this one is that there are different order numbers, which sort of made me a bit suspect. But then you've had loads of comments like Mike here, which is Mike, moaning about, it's 2 months to arrive. And he's not just gone once, he's gone, 4 or 5 times after that. What's interesting is that no one's actually responded to this comment at all, and it's quite frustrating, again, for me as a customer about to go spend, I think it's about £100. I was about to spend that money with them, but it was the comment section that made me not purchase. So again, I'm one of those 88%. I'm sure all of us at some stage has looked at purchasing a product, had a quick look at even the reviews, maybe you've gone on to Trustpilot, whatever it may be, or you've had a look at the comments and gone, yeah, not for me. I don't really trust that. So again, it is impacting your sales numbers, especially if you're using social media to generate revenue, which most e-commerce brands now are. So why comment management matters? Well, it's crucial for e-commerce, and we know this. We as e-commerce brands, us as agencies, we know that not responding to these comments are impacting our bottom line. But a statistic that I wasn't aware of until I started getting into Rupert, which was that brands responding to comments can see up to a 20% boost in customer trust. A good example of this is actually an early adopter of Rupert, a brand in the US called Touchstone Essentials. Before they started using Rupert, it was taking them about 90 hours plus to respond to comments. Since implementing Rupert, that's now reduced to 13-14 hours. And David, their COO, has even seen, since using Rupert, the numbers across social increase. Now, he hasn't said, we can't, between us, go, it's exactly given it this increase in terms of percentage. But you can see from when it's been implemented, the lifetime value has increased because people are coming back and actually getting back to these questions earlier is really impacting their ROAS, which is really, really, really impressive. Second one, which is the risk of neglect. If you are going to neglect your comment section, you are neglecting your customers. We wouldn't do it in a brick and mortar store, so there's no reason why we should do it online. It seems to be the norm now just to either turn the comment section off, which is an absolute no-no, or just neglect them entirely. An example of a brand, and actually a really well-known high-end brand, Axel Arigato. If you look at any of their paid social ads, you'll see they've got a vast amount of comments under there. People slating the brand, spam comments. For a brand, high-end brand like they are, seeing comments of that nature on there is just really, really, really negative. And it's, again, it's risking their brand reputation. The third one is positive engagement benefits. So when you engage as a brand, you become more humanized. You look at Ryanair, there's so many examples of those brands that actually respond in more of a tongue-in-cheek, but they're more approachable and trustworthy. We as brands want social media for engagement, but what's incredible, what's amazing is when they engage, we don't engage back. Whether it's a resource problem, whether it's time, money, whatever it may be, someone has gone out their day to write a comment on your post or your paid ad. We as brands, the least we can do is respond. That's the very least we can do. And then hopefully, touch wood, they then go on and purchase and become a customer. So here's another brand that does it really, really well. And I've spoken about these guys in the past, which is Huel. Huel are brilliant at responding to all their comments. The two examples I'll give here, one at the bottom, Sisu, which is, saying it's giving me severe bloating. Again, they've gone back in a really professional way, which we will go on to in terms of the top 3 tips this week. But also Shannon asking why the minimum order value is £45. I really like that response because they're unapologetic, but it's also really good customer service. They're saying that, it is what it is, but they've sort of stuck to their morals on that one. I really, really like it, but they haven't just left them. They've responded, which is really, really good. And actually you can see with Shannon there, they've gone a couple of times, which is, again, they're humanizing the brand. They're getting trust. And I think Shannon at some point would have purchased. I might be wrong. She may have just gone into a local supermarket and bought, just a takeaway one. But again, I would say that she's had a really good experience with that. So strategies for effective comment management. So here's my top 3 tips for today. You can implement them today and you'll start in a couple of weeks, couple of months, you'll start seeing some increase in engagement across your socials if you implement these. And I promise you now you will, but you have to be consistent. I think when you look at all these brands that do it well, the people like the Huels, the Ryanairs of the world, the one thing they are consistent. So the first tip is publicly thanking customers. This is a really, really simple one. The second you're tagged in to a post, there's 2 things you can do. Or 2 things I'd really like you to do. I would like you to thank them on their post, which is great. So they get a bit of a dopamine hit because they've had the brand reach out to them, which is incredible. And if you can, I would reshare it, depending on what the content is, but I would definitely be resharing it. That's something really, really simple we can all do. It happens a lot in things like the fashion, skincare type brands. I think more brands need to do it outside of sort of that world. But again, thanking customers is something that doesn't take too long and any one of us can do it. The second one is handle negative comments more professionally. So you'll see a couple of examples there, sort of the guy moaning about the severe bloating it gave him. Again, they've gone back really professional on that and it's come across in a really nice way. Us as customers or prospects before we become a customer, we will be looking at this comment section. If you see a load of negative comments being unhandled, and very unprofessionally, it is going to impact our buying. Are we going to become a customer? We know that because we saw the statistic earlier on. So I would also do it publicly. I wouldn't go behind the DMs. Show the world how you deal with negative comments. And it might be that they've had a bad experience with your brand. It might be that their delivery was late. There might be a number of reasons why they've had a bad experience, but that's okay. Just show them why you're not the brand that they think you are. A good example of this is a garden centre just outside Manchester, use Rupert, and they probably get 30 to 40 comments a day, give or take. And some of it is just they've had a bad coffee in the cafe, which we've all had bad coffees, haven't we? But people go on there and they have a little moan. It's normally some odd biddy. But actually, if you look at the lifetime value of that customer, if they go into that coffee shop or within the garden centre 3-4 times a week over a 15-20 year period, well, that's a lot. The lifetime value of that is huge. So again, it just shows, do not just hide these comments and DM them. Deal with them professionally, but deal with them publicly as well. And the third one is automate repetitive queries. If you're getting the same question on social media, what is your delivery terms? I would have a Google sheet, which your team have access to, and I would just have a load of copy and paste in there and just copy and paste them in. Being candid, it's not great, because when you see copy and paste comments, it looks really bad from the brand, but it's better than nothing. Obviously, using platforms like Rupert will really, really help. Again, I touched on Touchstone earlier, which is they've reduced their average response time from over 90 to about around 10 hours a week. That's fantastic. But again, I understand that not everyone is able to do that. But again, if you can automate them, fantastic. If you can try and change them up so they look a bit different, that will help. It will definitely help the algorithm in terms of that engagement piece as well. Here's an example of, here's another example of Huel, actually, who they never miss a comment. And again, one of my tips was being consistent. Here's a brand that is absolutely consistent with it. You'll see they've got a varying different types of comments there. You've got Freddie, who's moaning that it's not like a Lucozade. Well, we all know that Lucozade and Huel are very different products entirely. Why you'd be comparing the two, who knows? But again, they've gone back to that. Really, it's good. Someone just saying the chocolate Huel was nice, but I want the banana one next. Again, they're engaging with them, which is really, really good, which is what in social media we need to do. We need to engage. We as e-commerce brands, us as agencies, what we need to remember and not forget, which is the number one rule of social media, which is the more we engage, the more people stay. And the algorithm, the word that none of us really likes to use, but those social media platforms they're using will favor you. From a pay perspective, your CPMs will decrease. But then secondly, from a organic, you'll get free reach or more reach. I like to call it free reach, because if you're doing a good job, it just goes out for free, which is even better. So again, Ryanair, there's so many brands that do it. We know them, we see them. But again, use those examples, see how they're engaging with their community. And yeah, you won't be far off. But yeah, they're the free tips, like I said, you can definitely implement today. If there are any questions, give me a shout. We'll be online for the next minute. But next week we are on again at Wednesday at 11 a.m. and it's the power of social media engagement. Why responding to comments can make or break your brand's reputation. And I will not try and mention Jaguar, I can't promise. But when it comes to reputational damage on social media, I think they're a pretty decent case study, to be fair. But yeah, if anyone has got any questions, please DM me on LinkedIn and I will respond. But thank you everyone for turning up again today, and hope you have an amazing week. Take care.